Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is On Palmer.
Welcome in, Hunt Palmer coming to you live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Working towards the weekend. That work week almost in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Casey Gaines and Alondra Villial back there on the ones and twos. Glad to be back after a day away. Appreciate Taylor Sharp for jumping in the captain's seat here yesterday, but glad to be back in action on this Friday. Friday shows brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Looking for a late lunch? Get on by their government location. Brand new food concept, fried catfish, fried shrimp from the folks that brought you Kuyon's Barbecue. Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We got a lot to get to, obviously. LSU and Auburn tonight from the Plains. We'll preview that coming up in 15 minutes. I'll get you ready for the SEC weekend in baseball as well. Will LSU women's basketball add another All-American to the fold? We hope to learn that in the next hour or so. Jason Caldwell has been covering Auburn for about 2 decades. He's going to jump aboard to talk about this Auburn baseball team at 2 o'clock. Stuart Mandel, The Athletic, ranked the college football teams post-spring. We'll let you know how that shook out. But to start, I know you've heard it 1,000 times, but I haven't gotten a crack at it. And I want to talk about this Brad Bohannon thing because it is a bizarre story to me on like 5 different levels. A lot of times, the sports gambling stories are pretty black and white, pretty cut and dried, pretty understandable. This one is very difficult for me to take in and fully understand. I think the details will come out as far more important people and far more authoritative people than the NCAA will show up here, because you start trying to rip off sports books, you're going to deal with some real people that can get things done. I think this is all going to shake out, but it is bizarre to me from what details we have learned, what sources have indicated to reputable journalists, and what we just know from being part of the situation down here in Baton Rouge. This is bizarre. I'll tell you why. And I'll start by saying this. I'm not printing this in a newspaper. This is a radio talk show host evaluating the situation and just connecting some dots and not really holding back very much. I'm going to kind of let loose. I'm not going to tiptoe like you may have needed to right when the news broke. We've known this for 24 hours. I'm going to kind of let loose on what I think and why this is so perplexing to me. We know that Alabama came down here and got beat in 3 games. We know that bets were placed in Cincinnati for Alabama to lose. We know Brad Bohannon was in contact with the person who was making these bets. There's a report recently, is about 2 hours ago, that this was a high school basketball coach. I don't really care who it was actually making the wager. That's not that important to me in terms of my reaction to this story. We know that Alabama scratched their starter right before the game. I didn't even know about it. I was dealing with Myers, I remember, last Friday, dealing with my son, and then turned the game on and realized that wasn't Holman. So I didn't even know exactly when it happened. But we know they scratched their starter. We know that LSU was starting Skeens. And we know that the University of Alabama, well, we know that they halted bets on Alabama baseball in the sportsbook world. And we know that Alabama dug into the situation and fired their coach. So I can take all of that and start connecting dots pretty quick. Number one, I don't believe this is some sort of insider trading. I use air quotes there in the sportsbook world. I don't think there was information divulged from Brad Bohannon to this guy that immediately influenced a mega bet. Here's what I'm saying when I say that. You want to tell me, I remember this distinctly. I walked into the Assembly Center in January of 19. LSU was leading the Southeastern Conference in basketball. Tennessee was in the top 5 in the country. And I walked into the PMAC that day and found out inside the PMAC, Tremont Waters was not playing. Now, if I had that information 2 hours before kickoff, before tip-off, and nobody else knew it, and I was a gambler, that is information that I think vastly impacts the game. Javonte Smart went and scored 29 points, and they won anyway, so it didn't. But that would be huge. To a lesser extent, but if I'm playing here in Baton Rouge. LSU's opening the 2020 football season in a half-empty stadium against Mississippi State, who's got a new head coach, Mike Leach, and they're going to throw it 60 times. Nobody I know knew that Derek Stingley had been in the hospital all night until about lunchtime. If I knew that prior, and I knew that the best cornerback in the country wasn't going to play and Mississippi State was going to throw it 60 times, that, to me, might influence how I bet. Now, it's not going to change the point spread a lot, but that would influence how I bet. The best corner's not out there, and they're throwing it all over the place. In just a massively hypothetical situation, if the Saints make the Super Bowl, and that morning Drew Brees gets in a car accident and breaks his leg, and I know that before anybody else, and I bet that's going to massively impact how I wager on a game. Pulling Luke Holman an hour before first pitch and subbing in Hagan Banks, while Hagan Banks' statistics are a little bit less, they're facing Paul Skeens in the box. That's the betting thing. That's what matters in the game. Luke Holman's not that good. He was their third starter. They lost Ben Hess. They lost Grayson Hicks. It's not like they had Aaron Nola ready to go in the game and had to knock him down. It's Luke Holman. It was pretty good last night, but still. So to me, this is not about the inside information the Bama coach was able to provide that swung the odds, the books couldn't catch up, and that's why this happened. That's not, to me, the issue. Now, it is to the book. It's not to me for college baseball. This is pretty cut and dried to me. Brad Bohannon just thought they were going to lose and just wanted to make a few extra bucks. To me, it's not throwing games. Because guess what? The way the odds are stacked here, especially in the Skeens game where he's minus 240 or whatever it was, you'd have to bet so much to make a significant amount of money, it would be flagged immediately. So this is not about getting rich. It's about getting a couple of extra bucks when he thinks they're going to lose. And I don't think he was really point shaving. Brad Bohannon's going to get fired if they don't make the NCAA tournament this year. Do you know what Brad Bohannon's record is at Alabama? He won 35% of his league games. They were last in the West his first 2 years. COVID canceled SEC play the third year. They didn't make. They made the tournament by the skin of their teeth in 2021 at 12-17 in the league, and they didn't make the tournament last year. And they were on the ropes making the tournament this year, but they still had very much a chance. And the team's good enough to get there. So it doesn't make sense to me that he would be throwing baseball games where he's still very much in the tournament mix. That the result of that is him making $8,000 and getting fired. That doesn't make any sense to me. So to me, it's not the inside information. It's not a guy point shaving. It's a guy stupidly trying to make $8,000 on his team losing against the best pitcher in the country. That's the dots I connect here. Because even if Alabama had scratched Luke Holman and it was very public, Vegas wasn't going to move that number. Doesn't matter what Alabama's pitching staff, which is wildly average, does against that lineup in the box against Skeens. And the Black Sox guys, I don't want to go back and dig up financials on that, but those guys probably made, for that point in time where baseball players weren't making, they probably got a lot of money. College athlete that's throwing games, or Tim Donaghy who's reffing basketball games, it's on an official salary, you can make some money that changes. You can make important money. Brad Bohannon's probably sniffing $1 million with incentives over at Alabama. Netting $8,000 on a baseball game, that's not life-changing money. That's a guy who made the biggest mistake of his life that he'll regret forever because he's never coaching another baseball game again because he didn't think he was going to get caught. I think he was trying to win on Friday. I bet he was trying to win. I don't think he had enough money on the line that it mattered if he lost. And he's trying to keep his job. At that point, they were 9-9. Their RPI is pretty good. That's my snapshot of this entire situation. It's not about the inside information. It's not about point shaving. It's a guy that just made the worst mistake he's ever going to make. And he got caught. Didn't think it would happen. That's the only reasonable expectation or explanation to me. It really is. And, we've all talked in circles about how much of a black eye Alabama's athletic department's had on it over the last 12 months, and a lot of that's a lot more serious than sports. This one, I'm just going to the most reasonable and easiest explanation. Brad Bohannon's a reasonable guy. He's confident in his team, but he looks across there and looks at Paul Skeens and goes, buddy, I see you're in Cincinnati. We're probably not going to beat this guy. Throw an extra 5 on there. That's what it feels like. And again, I don't know. I believe the details will come out because you don't try to get one over on the casinos and have every detail not unearthed. Phone records, bank accounts, wiretaps, transfers. They'll get to the bottom of it, and they'll figure it out. And then we'll learn about it. Meanwhile, his boys went out there last night and played a hell of a baseball game. We'll talk about that here coming up in 20 minutes, but they were awesome last night. But just remarkably unintelligent for Brad Bohannon to get tied up in this for what has got to be a fairly insignificant amount of money for a man that has had that salary for the last 6 years. Just my thoughts on the matter. That'll do it for Brad Bohannon in Alabama. We won't talk about it anymore. We're going to get to LSU Auburn coming up next. I got a lot of thoughts on this Auburn team and this matchup and kind of where LSU sits and what I expect to see over the next 3 days. We'll do it next. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
FanDuel's the only sportsbook app where you can bet the Kentucky Derby. It's happening this Saturday, and right now all customers can get a no-sweat Derby bet up to $20. It means you get up to $20 back if your win bet doesn't win. There are great promotions like this every day on FanDuel. The app is safe, it is secure, and the best part, when you win, you get paid instantly. So bet America's #1 race this Saturday with America's #1 sportsbook. Just visit racing.fanduel.com/1045ESPN for your chance to get a no-sweat Derby bet up to $20 this Saturday for the Kentucky Derby. That's racing.fanduel.com/1045ESPN. Must be 21 and reside in Louisiana. Offer valid on the first Derby win wager. Verified FanDuel racing account required. Refund issues and knowledgeable racing site credit that expires on 6/12/23. Restrictions apply. See terms at racing.fanduel.com. If you or someone who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I drove myself to the ER, had heart surgery, and drove myself home 24 hours later, feeling fine. Starting running again after the procedure, I'm getting excited thinking about it. I had no pain, nothing. I felt great. And right then and there, I was like, oh my God, I'm back. I'm back. It's just amazing.
Ochsner Health. Long live you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's
for live play-by-play this weekend. The Rays host the Yankees Saturday at 3, and the Lakers host the Warriors at 7:30. Then on Sunday, the 76ers host the Celtics at 2:30, followed by the Padres and the Dodgers at 6 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I love my guy Mario hitting that Padres enunciation in the promo. Padres? I'm going to go with San Diego Padres myself. But my guy's nailing it. How does unlimited, all-you-can-eat crawfish sound? I can make that happen for you. The Crawfish King Cook-Off is this afternoon. 34 teams competing. There's only going to be one king. And it is this afternoon, downtown, near Live After 5 on St. Louis Street. You do have to have a ticket. You can buy them in advance, $35 at crawfishkingcookoff.com, or get them for $40 at the gate. Kids tickets, 10 and under, just $10. Again, 34 teams, 13,000 pounds of crawfish, and it's all you can eat while supplies last. So if you want to go eat some crawfish this afternoon after work, the Crawfish King Cook-Off is the place for you. Rain or shine, they're going to be out there. I'm going to be out there right after I finish this show. So it cranks up at 4 o'clock. It leads right into Live After 5. So going to be a ton of fun out there at the Crawfish King Cook-Off. If you want all-you-can-eat crawfish for $35, we can make that happen for you at the Crawfish King Cook-Off. LSU and Auburn tonight, game 1 from the Plains. I kind of wanted to give you my thoughts on this Auburn club, which is, you've listened to me. You've heard me do power rankings. I preview the series every weekend, and I haven't spoken very highly of Auburn, and they didn't give me much reason to speak very highly of them, quite frankly, for the vast majority of this year. They came out of the gates in non-conference, and they tied a series. It actually had a tie in Game 3 with a mediocre Southern Cal team that came in. They lost a series to Southeastern in the non-conference, 2 of 3. They got swept at Arkansas to open things up. Then they beat Georgia 2 out of 3. Then they lost 3 straight series, 2 out of 3 to Florida, A&M, and Alabama. And you look up and you're going, well, you didn't do much in the non-conference. You're not doing much right now. Your ace, Joseph Gonzalez, doesn't appear to be coming back. You're really struggling to get people out. It just has not been very good for Auburn. They have played a little bit better the last 2 weeks. I will give them credit for that. They took 2 of 3 against Mississippi State in a very offensive series, and they really kicked South Carolina's butt for 2 days in that series in Columbia, and won 2 out of 3 against the Gamecocks. Right now, Auburn is riding 2 things to these 2 good weeks. They're hitting, especially for power, and they've found a little bit of something in Tommy Vale on the mound. So before we get into the personnel and what they're doing tonight and tomorrow, because it's interesting, I want to go through statistically kind of what they are big picture. Their offense, in terms of batting average, is 7th in the league. In terms of slugging percentage, it's 9th in the league. In terms of on-base percentage, 11th in the league. They're bottom half of the league in batting average, slugging, and on base. And in runs scored, they're 13th. That's not very good offensively, and we know they've had a lot of trouble in terms of pitching because of injury and poor performance. They're 10th in the conference in home runs, which is bad. That's down there towards the bottom. But in their last 6 SEC games, so these 2 series against Mississippi State and South Carolina, they've hit 17 home runs. They hit 10 in Columbia last weekend. Now, the wind was howling out to right center, and that was aiding some fly balls, but they hit 10 home runs in that series. That's the most in an SEC series for them since 2010, 13 years they have not had 10 home runs in a weekend series. They don't draw a lot of walks. They're 12th. They strike out a pretty good amount, and they're not a threat to steal a lot of bases. So the big picture numbers aren't very good. The short sample size of the last 2 weeks, impressive for them offensively. Cooper McMurray, if he digs in tonight, and you'll see Cooper McMurray, and they'll throw his stats up there on the screen, and it'll say he's hitting 306, and you'll go, okay, that's fine hitter, 306, nothing to write home about, just a nice SEC player. But he was bad in non-conference. He's hitting 347 in SEC play with 9 homers. He's the guy I told you about last week when I claimed that there was something that was done in the Auburn-Mississippi State series that had never been done in the history of the sport and may never be done again. You may have heard me say that. It was Cooper McMurray that did it. In one game, he homered off of both foul poles. One down the right field line, one down the left field line. But he's been awesome for them of late, 9 homers in SEC play. Now, you'll see Ike Irish dig in, and you'll look at his stats and go, man, this guy's a problem. He's hitting 370. He's a freshman. He's been in the 3-hole for Auburn most of the year. Really talented player. But he's hitting 250 in league play. He's hitting 474 against non-conference. And that's not uncommon for freshmen to feel much more comfortable facing the 89-mile-an-hour fastballs on Tuesdays and in the midweek and then in the non-conference than it is when you start seeing 94 to 96 in the SEC. Sometimes that's tougher. Irish has had a little bit of trouble with league pitching. Bryson Ware has not. He is really their difference maker. Bryson Ware, to this point in the season, has clubbed a pretty impressive amount of home runs. He's got, I thought so, 18 home runs is how many. He's really good. And Auburn's confident at the plate right now. Now, their coach is playing the percentages this weekend. Butch Thompson, respected SEC coach, was John Cohen's pitching coach at Mississippi State, has taken Auburn to Omaha a couple of times. He knows what he's doing, and he's not going to put his team in a compromised position tonight. So what he's going to do is he's going to pitch off. They are pitching off tonight. Tommy Vale has found something for him, and he's not going to pitch tonight. He has been their game one starter the last few weeks. They're saying that. We're going with Chase Alsop tonight. Chase Alsop is a sophomore. He's 6'1", 240 pounds. He's a big boy. He's only started 3 games all year. His longest outing of the season is 3 1/3. And that was against UAB in early March. I watched the tape on him. It's a 96-mile-an-hour fastball that's pretty flat. Apparently, he's tried a new slider grip that they're going to try to incorporate tonight. But he's walked 10 guys in his last 8 innings pitched. This is basically a white flag. Certainly, Auburn could run a few out of the yard. Certainly, Alsop could get a couple atom balls, strike a couple of guys out with good heaters, and Auburn could make it competitive tonight. But that's not the plan. Basically, at this point in their schedule, Auburn is a team that is 25-18-1. They're 9-12 in the SEC with an RPI of 36. That's very bubblicious. They need to find a way to get to 13 or 14 league wins, and that means they're going to have to win 4 of the last 9, and these 3 are going to be tough. They're not going to burn their best starting pitcher tonight against Paul Skeens. They're going to hold Tommy Vale for tomorrow. Now, when you see Tommy Vale tomorrow, I want you to just envision this as you see him. They don't have very similar delivery because the LSU reference I'm going to make here was a little bit of a herky-jerky delivery. But Tommy Vale screams Jared Poche to me. Tommy Vale is a graduate student. He's old. Poche got to the point where he was real old. He's left-handed. He's 6 feet tall. He weighs 195 pounds. And he's a pitchability left-hander. He throws 89 miles an hour. That's just a tick north of what Poche was. He throws a little bit of a changeup, which is okay, and Poche threw a little bit of a changeup. And then he's got that kind of big, loopy curveball that Poche had. Y'all remember it. That's what Tommy Vale will look like tomorrow. He screams to me, Jared Poche, and he's been effective the last 3 weeks against Alabama, Mississippi State, and South Carolina, which Bama's offense is pretty good. Mississippi State's is average, and South Carolina's is very potent when healthy. They're banged up, but it's very potent when healthy. Over those 3 weekends, Tommy Vale has gone 16 2/3 innings total. He's only allowed 9 hits and 2 earned runs over that 16 2/3, 21 strikeouts, 13 walks. He is not going to blow you away. He won't throw 91 probably the whole time he's out there. but he'll flip that curveball in there, and then he'll throw a little change up down, hope you roll over it, and then he'll try to sneak a fastball up under your hands. It's just a pitchability guy. He's Jared Poche, but he's been their best, and he's going to go in Game 2. In Game 3, they're going to go with Christian Herberholtz. He's a 5'11", 197-pound junior right-hander. He's been at Tennessee Tech and Southern Union. He has one time this year made it longer than 4 innings. He threw 5 innings against Alabama. His last 3 outings have been decent. 13 innings, just 3 earned runs. It's a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Basically, he's just going to be out there to give you 3 innings at a time, and that's really all he can do. Auburn's starter tonight and on Sunday are not probably going to go very deep into the game. They're just going to try to get in there and use the bullpen. They're going to hope that Tommy Vale can give him his best outing on Saturday and try to find that one as the game that Auburn has the best chance to win. They don't have a guy in the bullpen like they've had the last couple of years that they can go to slam the door. They just haven't pitched very well, quite frankly. Their ace never came back, and it just hasn't been very good for Butch. They're trying, and of course they're feeling a little bit better about themselves having won 2 weekends in a row. But Auburn's key to winning this game is going to be to outscore LSU in a game or 2. That's what they're going to. That's what everybody's recipe has been against LSU. Iowa hung big numbers on LSU to beat them. Texas A&M scored a bunch late to beat LSU. Tennessee rolled LSU in the first inning and scored a ton of runs in that game. South Carolina ambushed Skeens and hit a couple of home runs and outscored LSU to win that game. I mean, you just go through the list of all the games that LSU's lost. You can find the common denominator. They've been outscored. LSU hadn't lost any 3-1 games. So that's Auburn's best chance. So for LSU, my key in this weekend for the pitching staff is to just keep the ball in the yard. Auburn had been a very light-hitting team in terms of power. They lead the conference in doubles. It's not like they can't hit at all, but they haven't hit a bunch of home runs until the last 2 weeks where they really have. And Plainsman Park can play hitter-friendly. It's got that short porch in left field with the monster. Like you can drive the ball out of the park at Plainsman Park with some ease. And Auburn's got some guys that can do that. So I feel great with LSU on the mound tonight with Paul Skeens as usual. You just got to hope that the rest of the guys can keep Auburn in the ballpark. LSU is much the better team here. Auburn's pulling out all the stops. They know at this point they need to get one of these games. If Auburn gets swept to this weekend, their postseason hopes are on life support at best. They've got to find a way to get one, and if they hope 2, if they get 2, their RPI is going to go skyrocketing, and they're going to be in good shape. But Butch is calling on the Auburn fan base to show up and show out. They're doing something they've never done in the history of the program. They're flying the Eagle pregame like they do at football games. They're going to have the Eagle fly and crash, which I think is awesome, by the way. They're treating this like a huge weekend. It's also graduation weekend at Auburn. I don't know how that impacts the crowds. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's not so good because folks are going to lunch or with family or whatever. But it's going to be a busy weekend at Auburn, and I think LSU is much the better team. But you got to keep them in the yard because they've been swinging the bats really, really well. Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check them out at corksfishandshrimp.com. Got the whole menu there. I'm telling you, if you're somebody from South Louisiana who says, I'm not going through a drive-thru to get my fried seafood, just try Cork's once. This is a different quick service experience. The catfish is not mushy and dirty and fishy. It is clean. It is crispy. It is deliciously flavored with their awesome batter. That the recipe was born right here in the seafood capital of the world, South Louisiana. They have Gulf shrimp that are big and delicious. They got the awesome crispy crinkle-cut fries. The shoestring fries. They had the crinkle cuts. Now they got the shoestring fries, which are fantastic. And I can promise you this, they know what they're doing over there in the drive-thru. They've got somebody standing out there. They'll take your order. They'll run your card. They'll get your name. They'll keep that line moving over there at Cork's. Check them out on Government between Foster and Jefferson. It is Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. It's from the folks that brought you Couillons. It is delicious fried fish and shrimp, and we're thrilled that they're part of our shows each and every Friday. When we come back, SEC baseball for the weekend. Brief look at what we saw last night, which was pretty interesting, and then kind of a barometer for some really big series that I see this weekend. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, and because they're Louisiana Loyal, they're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Dr. Robert Jackson is our champion of Louisiana. Dr. Jackson has made such a positive impact on North Louisiana, where I was yesterday. In fact, he founded the MLK Health Center and Pharmacy in Shreveport. It is Northwest Louisiana's oldest free clinic and pharmacy. And clinics like the MLK Health Center and Pharmacy are essential in a state like Louisiana, which has one of the highest uninsured rates in the country. Clinic operates at no expense to the patient, returns an average of $25 to the community for every $1 invested in that center. Dr. Robert Jackson is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $15,000 off all new 2022 1500 SCA trucks. And all new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home, live Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-26.
Sandegriff, join us for the Monday edition of Hanny Time. It's a big weekend in Southeastern Conference baseball. As we come down the stretch, we take a look back at LSU's series against Auburn. Hanny Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And so look at the SEC weekend that's on tap here. We'll look to last night first. Bama beat Vanderbilt 11-2. Their coach was betting against them. He got fired, and they went out and clocked Vanderbilt, top 5 RPI team. Go figure. Hilariously, to me at least, Luke Holman was really good. 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs. 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. I guess he is the difference maker. I don't think so. He hadn't done that all year. But he did it last night. And Alabama hammered Carter Holton. They scored 5 on him in an inning and 2/3. Sent him to the showers early. How about Andrew Pinckney? Somebody get that guy a cold bath. He was on fire in Baton Rouge. He shows up last night, goes 2 for 2 with a grand slam, drove in 5 and walked twice. He was on base all 4 times he went to the plate. He's the hottest hitter in the league right now. That moves Bama to 10 and 12 overall and number 17 in the RPI, up 4 spots. That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't make any sense for Brad Bohannon to throw games. They're 17th in the RPI. When they came to Baton Rouge, if they could have won 2 out of 3, they could be in the host mix. Instead, he's chatting with investigators, I guess, but that's the point. Vanderbilt's now 16 and 6, so LSU does lead the Southeastern Conference by percentage points as we sit here this very second. Missouri beat Ole Miss 11-9. That was some bad news for Ole Miss. They lost that game. Worse news probably for them than Hunter Elliott is having Tommy John surgery. So he felt something week 1, came back against LSU. Cruz launched 2 out on him. He left. Now he's having Tommy John. Not a great deal for Ole Miss or Hunter Elliott. He won't pitch next year, obviously, and then he'll have the opportunity to either come back for one more year at Ole Miss or go into the draft. We'll see what Elliott tries to do. But Ole Miss did lose last night 11-9. So the bottom of the SEC in the race to Hoover, 2 teams don't make it. And the bottom right now is Ole Miss is at the bottom at 5 and 17. Mississippi State is right in front of them at 6 and 15. And then Missouri is 12th at 6 and 16. But if Ole Miss loses one of the games this weekend, they will then not hold the tiebreaker against Mississippi State or Missouri because Mississippi State already beat them 2 out of 3, and Missouri's got a 1-game lead on them. So things looking pretty bleak in Rebel Land. I don't think they'll be making the trip to Hoover this year. So those are the 2 games last night. On to games that are going on this weekend that'll crank up as game 1s tonight. Tennessee is at Georgia. Here's how sick I am. I'm a sick individual. My paranoia knows no bounds. And I'm driving up to Shreveport on Wednesday, and I'm listening to the Highway to Hoover podcast and then listening to the D1 Baseball Nerdcast that they do that highlights the Field of 64, all the RPIs, all the remaining schedules. They do a great job. It's Mark Etheridge, it's Aaron Fitt, it's Kendall Rogers. They're great at it. And I'm sitting there listening, and I'm thinking there's a pretty good chance LSU is the number 1 seed. That's a reasonable expectation. They could lose this weekend. Somebody could jump them. What does Wake do? There's a pretty good chance LSU's 1, maybe 2. And Tennessee's just kind of lurking around, maybe find themselves the number 16 host, which, of course, would send them directly to Baton Rouge for a super. And, folks, you know me, and you're all annoyed by me, and you think I'm an idiot, and I couldn't disagree with that, but I just don't really have any interest in playing Tennessee in a super regional, especially when they're sitting there talking about the other teams that are jockeying for position around there, the Indiana States of the world, the Boston College of the world. I know Boston College went to Knoxville and won. It was a midweek game, but I'm aware. But I just might rather one of those schools show up for a super. So now I'm sitting here trying to analyze where Tennessee is. Maybe they're a 2 seed at the 16 regional. Maybe they host the 16 regional. Maybe they're the 15 host and LSU drops to 2. I don't want to play them again until we get to Omaha. And they would have to get to Omaha to get there. Now, you would sit here and tell me, and you're screaming at your radio right now saying, we're the best team in the country. Who gives a damn who we play? We're going to crush them. I wish I was that confident. I love this team. I think they're great. I just don't really want to play Tennessee. So they'll play at Georgia this weekend. Of course, the LSU will finish in Athens here in a couple of weeks. South Carolina and Kentucky is an interesting one for a lot of reasons. I've said this now for 4 weeks. I'm not going to stop saying it for a number of reasons. One, I believe it to be true. The second, because I dislike their coach so much. Kentucky was the most fraudulent 4-week team I may have ever seen in league play. Their RPI was a fraud. Their record was a fraud. Their statistics were a fraud. They're a fraud. They've lost 4 in a row in terms of weekends, and they're going to get beat again this weekend by South Carolina. They've lost 6 of 7 games, lost 4 SEC series. South Carolina's banged up. There's no question about it. Their pitching staff's hurt. Their position players are hurt. They're hurting. They're dealing with a lot of the same stuff that LSU's dealing with as well. But they've got some guys they hope to get back. I don't know what their status is for tonight or tomorrow or the next day, but I'm telling you, they're going to beat Kentucky. because South Carolina is going to show up and hit some home runs, and Kentucky's going to bunt. You do the math. One team's going to try to bunt and run around, and the other team's going to bash the ball 430 feet. You tell me who you think's going to win. He said, oh, well, Auburn beat South Carolina 2 out of 3 last weekend. Auburn hit 10 home runs last weekend. You know how to beat South Carolina? Hit 10 home runs. Gavin Dugas launched a grand slam. You know how you don't beat them? Sack bunting. That's what Kentucky does. They stink. What a fraud. If they lose, I was listening to Kendall Rogers on their podcast, as I said earlier. They could lose their last 7 SEC weekends and still have an RPI somewhere around 14 and not make the tournament. They could be an RPI 14 and miss the tournament. They lose 7 weekends in a row. They're not making the tournament. Frauds. Florida and Texas A&M. To me, this is the series of the weekend. This one is endlessly fascinating to me. A&M's 9-12. They got 9 games to go. Their RPI is 45, which is not good. They got RPI problems. So they're going to have to go 5-4 down the stretch over the last 9. They've got Florida, then Alabama at home. Both of those series are at home, and they're at Mississippi State. Now, that's very doable. They can do it. But you can't get swept this weekend. You really don't need to lose 2 out of 3 this weekend. And Florida is fighting for top 8. And Florida is on the back end of an SEC logjam. And you've got LSU at the top, and you've got Vanderbilt, and you've got South Carolina, and you've got Arkansas. And you just got to wonder if this push comes to shove. And the question is, are we going to go on the back end there with a 5th or 6th SEC team? Or are we going to give it to someone else? You don't want to be in that position. The only time I can recall LSU really being in that situation was in the 2011 tournament when they did not get in. They put St. John's in. Grow the game, they say. I don't know about that. But Florida needs to keep pace with the top dogs in the league. Now, Vanderbilt's end is tough, and they lost last night, and maybe that's a team they jump. Maybe Arkansas finally comes apart at the seams because they're out of pitching, and Florida passes them. But A&M needs it bad to get into the tournament. Florida needs it bad to get one of those last top 8s. They just don't see. And you look at LSU, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Arkansas, and Florida, they're not going to give the SEC 5 top 8s. I don't think they're going to do that. They could. I don't think they will. And so I love this series in College Station between 2 teams that desperately need it for very, very different reasons. And the last one's Arkansas at Mississippi State. If you missed this earlier this week, Arkansas is a top reliever, the guy who leads them in appearances out of the bullpen. Dylan Carter out for the year with Tommy John surgery. And Dave Van Horn's about had it. They're asking him questions about it prior to the announcement. He said, well, I can't get into it, but it's not good. It's not good. And he's very frustrated, as he should be. You lose Jackson Wiggins, your Friday night guy. He's out for the year. Tommy John. You got Brady Tigert, who's your closer, coming into his own as a sophomore. He's on the shelf, just coming back. Then you got Dylan Carter, who's kind of stepped into the role that you thought Hagen Smith would fill, and now he's out. So they're going to go with Hagen Smith as a starter this weekend. They've inserted him into the starting rotation as the Friday starter. We'll see what the deal is with Hunter Holland. I'm assuming we'll see him tomorrow. But Hagen Smith's going to start for Arkansas. And Mississippi State sitting there, they're towards the bottom of the league, no question about it. Mississippi State's 6-15, but if they can go 8-1, you can get in. But really what they're playing for is to get to Hoover to give yourself a shot. And they need to get 1 or 2 of these in against Arkansas. You can't get swept. These teams toward the bottom just can't get swept. You got to just sock one away here or there, and you'll find a way. So that's it for the Southeastern Conference slate. It's Bama, Vanderbilt, Missouri hosting Ole Miss and just in front of nobody. Missouri continues to add absolutely nothing to the Southeastern Conference. I really hope that we're catching a huge residual check from those Kansas City and St. Louis markets that we had to have, because Missouri doesn't bring any fans to any of their games, and they don't win anything. But they're playing Ole Miss this weekend. Tennessee's at Georgia. South Carolina's at Kentucky. Florida's at A&M, and Arkansas is at Mississippi State. You're looking for something to do this evening, might I suggest Live After 5? Right there downtown, kicks off your weekend. As of right now, the plan is to proceed as usual with Live After 5. They've looked at the weather. They think it's going to be just fine. I'll be out there emceeing. It's always a really good time, and it's free to show up. They got vendors out that you can purchase food and alcohol and drinks from, and there are different vendors that you can buy from as well out there. But it's always a lot of fun. So if you're looking for something to do, coming out to Live After 5, I'll be emceeing it from about 5 to 8 this afternoon. All right. When we come back, we will close out hour number 1 with some very good news we just got. Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Turn my music high, 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 yeah.
You don't know what you're doing.
Sure I do. I'm from the streets where the hood can swallow on me. Bullets will follow on me. There's so much that you can run the slalom. The cops comb this top to bottom. They say that we are prone to violence, but it's home sweet home. With personalities clashing, chrome meets chrome. Prices up and down like it's Wall Street.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Getting you ready for LSU at Auburn this weekend, and the Right Radio Hours return. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I think we got our Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day. Who is the best recruiter on LSU's campus? Jay Johnson, Kim Mulkey, Brian Kelly, I guess would be my three options there. And the case is building for Kim Mulkey. You're just seeing this. We're just seeing it. Anissa Morrow, All-American forward from DePaul, a walking double-double, averaged over 20 points per game, grabbed over 10 rebounds per game, is headed to Baton Rouge. This team is going to be absurd. I will not pretend to be up to speed on the entirety of women's college basketball rosters. I will pretend and feel reasonable about being up to speed on the team that LSU just had on the floor to win a national championship. What's missing from that, which is basically two pieces, the number one signing class in the country coming in, along with two legitimate All-Americans in Haley Van Lith and Anissa Morrow. That's three All-Americans in the starting five. I don't have to be that smart to figure this out. And if you're talking McDonald's All-Americans, you're going to have five of them in the starting five. This is a super team. And I do know enough about women's college basketball to know that while the depth of the sport is growing, it's no longer the same two teams that have a chance. It's not just UConn and Tennessee. There are more teams that can be a threat. It's not 4 1 seeds going to the Final Four year after year after year like it was at one time. The depth of the sport is growing, but it's still not what it could be. And now you've got the transfer portal where some great players that go to some lesser programs are just going to beeline to LSU, beeline to South Carolina, beeline to Connecticut. There are no holes on this team now. They've got All-Americans in the post. They've got All-Americans in the backcourt. They've got superstar freshmen. They've got national champions. They don't have any weaknesses. Kim tried to tell us all winter that, don't have any expectations. Those days are over. You broke through that barrier with the no expectations thing and you won the whole thing. But you only lost two pieces off that team in LaDasia Williams and Alexis Morris, and you've replaced both of them with All-Americans. Not McDonald's All-Americans, not D2 All-Americans, with D1, Power 5, Power 6 All-Americans. It is going to be, trying to keep Angel Reese and Anissa Morrow off the backboard, you might need the National Guard. You got Haley Van Lith shooting threes, Michaela Williams, best guard in the country, coming in. I don't know how teams are going to deal with this. And this was assured the second she was hired that this was coming. You knew it. It came more quickly than we thought it was, but you knew it was on the way. And it's here. I would be more surprised if they didn't make the Final Four than I would be if they had a perfect season. It would surprise me more if they didn't make the Final Four than if they had a perfect season. That's how ridiculous this looks on paper. And that's from a guy who, and very admittedly, doesn't follow the sport 12 months out of the year. What an absolute coup for Kim Mulkey. And I've seen this in my, how long have I been down here? 17 years in Baton Rouge. When it starts to win and it gains momentum, the people flock. I've seen it with baseball, seen it with football, I've seen it with basketball on the men's side, seen it with gymnastics and women's basketball. It's here. that place is going to be packed almost every night to watch these girls play. And that's very, very exciting down here in Baton Rouge. That's it for hour number 1. Our Friday shows brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on Government Street. When we come back, Jason Caldwell covers the Tigers for Auburn Undercover. LSU's headed to the Plains for game 1 tonight. Plus, Auburn's got a new quarterback. I'll tell you about that after SportsCenter on the Hunt Palmer Show.
I drove myself to the ER, had heart surgery, and drove myself home 24 hours later, feeling fine. Starting running again after the procedure, I'm getting excited thinking about it. I had no pain, nothing. I felt great. And right then and there, I was like, oh my God, I'm back. I'm back. It's just amazing.
Oshner Health. Long live you.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This is SportsCenter.
Christine Lisi, the NBA postseason spotlight
spotlight tonight on Philadelphia and Phoenix for a pair of Game 3s in Round 2. Starts off with the 76ers and Celtics. Then the Suns, down 2-0, host the Nuggets. If Phoenix is going to get back in the series, it can't be just on Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, notes Pelicans guard C.J. McCollum.
Even if KD go off for 30 or 35, let's say they get 70. Who else is going to contribute on that team? We need Ayton to play better. We need some of the role players to play better. But I think the supporting cast the Denver Nuggets have is ultimately what's deciding this series. And then you throw in a two-time MVP who just does whatever he wants every possession.
Suns point guard Chris Paul is out with a left groin strain. Doubleheader coverage starts at 7 Eastern on ESPN TV. Stanley Cup playoffs, Maple Leafs forward Matthew Knies out at least the next 2 games versus the Panthers because of a concussion. Toronto is down 2-0. Pitcher Matt Harvey, who briefly starred for the Mets, announced his retirement from baseball. The 34-year-old had not pitched in the majors since 2021. He served a 60-game suspension for the start of last season for violating baseball's drug program.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Friday here in the capital city. Just about got that work week in the rear view mirror. Hope your weekend is going to be a great one. We're glad to be hanging out with you here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And I want to talk Auburn. We got one guy. That's Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover, part of the 247 Network. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Jason, how are you?
What's up, Hunt? You doing all right?
Doing very well. Before we get to baseball, a little bit of news over there in Auburn today is there's a quarterback headed to town. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, as LSU saw last year, you can try to, and you need to try to improve your roster at every turn, especially with a first-year head coach. And Auburn was looking to do that at the quarterback position, looking for the right guy. And when Peyton Thorne went in the portal, he quickly became Auburn's number 1 target. And 2-year starter at Michigan State, been really successful for them. And last year they kind of fell off a little bit, but they are terrible running the football, so he was kind of left to defend on his own. But I think a really good addition for Auburn. And now you create a little bit more competition in August with him and Robbie Ashford coming back, who did some good things last year, kind of taking over a broken program as well. So, pretty big news for Hugh Freeze and the Tigers as they head into year number 1.
Does that change expectation level at all in Auburn, or is it business as usual in the SEC West? You're supposed to go out there and win games.
Yeah, I think that's it. I had somebody the other day talk about how tough Auburn's schedule was, and I was like, honestly, I thought it was about as easy as an Auburn schedule can be. And they're like, really? I'm like, dude, it's just what you do in this league. And when Georgia's your crossover, it's just always going to be really hard. And so, yeah, the expectations are there. But I do think that, I'll say this, from where they were in October to where they are now, you've gone from, in my opinion, not being able to compete at all when in October thinking about what was ahead. So now they get themselves a chance to compete with the additions on the offensive line and some of the transfers they've added to tight end from Florida International, some of those pieces, and obviously now with another quarterback in the room.
Things move very quickly in the transfer portal era, that is for sure. So let's shift over to baseball. Auburn and LSU from the Plains this weekend. Going to be a big weekend, I think graduation weekend in Auburn, and they're expecting big crowds for this one. And Auburn, under Butch Thompson, playing a little bit better the last 2 weeks after a bumpy start to SEC play. What's been the difference over the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, they gotten some pretty good starting pitching from Tommy Vale, who's a grad transfer guy, and then Christian Herberholtz, junior college transfer. So they got a little bit of starting pitching, but, as everybody knows, when you're looking around baseball at every level now, you just have to deal with pitching injuries. It's just part of the game itself now. Unfortunately for Auburn, it happened to the one guy that couldn't afford to lose, and Jose Gonzalez. He was going to be their innings leader. He was by far their number 1 starter, and when you go without him, other than he pitched 5 innings on opening day, and that's it. He hasn't been on the field again. You take that out of the equation, it's really just pushed everything up for them and put a lot of pressure on them. And I think now they're kind of starting to settle in a little bit, but obviously it's kind of like it kind of feels like Ole Miss to me last year, where you got two pretty good opportunities to win and swing the bat as much as you can, and that's kind of the game plan for Auburn right now is trying to put those things together and score some runs and see what happens.
Vail's been excellent the last 3 weeks, but he's not going to pitch tonight. They're going to hold him to tomorrow. I watched Butch Thompson's press conference, and he talked about having 2 Thursday series coming up and wanting to get things ready. But what do you make of Tommy Vail being pushed back to Game 2 this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think there's no question that part of it is that who's the guy on the other side. I don't think there's any question that having Skeens on the other side helped to transition that. But you look and the thing they've had issues with is having to go to the bullpen a little bit on Fridays and Saturdays has taxed them when they've had to go to the bullpen a lot on Sunday. And so putting a guy like Tommy Vail in the middle maybe allow you to break up some bullpen on Friday and Sunday and give you a little bit of a break and allow guys to maybe go a couple of times. So I think that's part of it too. But you look and you know what's in front of you with Keeney's on the mound tonight. He's been just incredible. And for Auburn, you send, to me, the most talented guy on Auburn's pitching staff and Chase Alsop to the mound. He just hasn't clicked. Pitched a little bit better last weekend in South Carolina, but he can be 96, 97. He's got good breaking stuff, but he just hasn't been able to hone it in. And you're going to have to get it out of him at some point this weekend, and you roll him out there tonight and see what happens.
I was a little surprised to turn on the tape last night and look at Auburn's pitching staff and see Chase Alsop up to 96. That did surprise me a little bit, and so there's definitely talent, as you mentioned there. What are they expecting from him tonight? 3 innings, 4 innings, 7 innings? What would be realistic?
I think realistic is 3 to 4, probably somewhere in there. But he is a guy that was pretty highly recruited coming out of the Dothan area a couple of years ago. Came in last year and pitched some pretty big games. I mean, it's the guy that pitched in, regional and at Oregon State, the Super Regional Oregon State, pitched in the College World Series. So he was a guy that was expected to hopefully be one of those weekend pieces coming into the year. He was a weekend starter to begin the season, and it just hasn't happened. So he's a guy that I think realistically, pitch count's always going to be the thing because he's a guy that can be a little all over the place at times. If he can throw strikes and get some swing and miss early, he's a guy that can get you 4 or 5. And if he did that, then it might give you a chance to hopefully try to swing the bat late against LSU.
Chatting with Jason Caldwell, been covering Auburn for 2 decades over there on the Plains. Offensively, this Auburn team erupted for 10 home runs last weekend, the most they've hit in a series in a decade. Who are the 2 or 3 names LSU fans need to know offensively for this Auburn team?
Yeah, that's the good thing about this lineup is they got some depth, and that's the key to LSU's lineup. Obviously, they got guys up and down the order, and for Auburn, it's kind of been the same a little bit. But you look at Bobby Pierce, kind of up toward the top. The seniors come back and has been swinging it pretty well. Cooper McMurray, big transfer first baseman from Kansas, has had a couple of pretty good weekends, and then Bryson Ware's been really the surprise guy. Coming back, moved back to the infield. Has played sparingly the last 2 years, and now it's one of those guys that's up there in the league leading home runs. And so those guys, Cole Foster, I mean, this lineup has some guys that can do it. The key is always when you get hits, can you get some clutch hits and do those things against obviously not only tonight but a really talented LSU pitching staff.
I got to ask you this before we let you go, and we appreciate your time. What's the buzz been like over there in that state over the last 27 hours with what's going on in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, it hadn't been just 27 hours. It's been about 2.5 months of buzz.
Yeah.
Everything but football related. Coming out of Tuscaloosa, it's been a palpable buzz for sure. And with everything that's going on, in addition to not just basketball, but you've had a basketball signee that they've already released, a football signee that was arrested. I mean, they've had some issues, and nobody's immune to those things. That's what it shows you right there.
Yeah.
In this day and age, nobody's immune to it, and you better not throw stones. But yeah, it's been for sure I'm sure a trying time for Greg Byrne and the folks inside that building.
Just one after another. It's just been wild to watch. Jason, enjoy the baseball this weekend. We'll catch up down the road. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you.
He's Jason Caldwell. Auburn Undercover. Been covering Auburn for a long time. Always enjoy getting Jason on during football season. He's been great with his time with us and does a great job covering the Plainsmen over there. I'm interested to see how this Eagle flight goes on the baseball field. That's really cool. I all the time will tell you straight up how I feel about SEC traditions. Auburn rolling Toomer's Oaks, I think that's great. Auburn flying the eagle around football stadium, I think is fantastic. I love the beer showers in Oxford. I think it's fantastic from the baseball perspective. I think their choreographed dance at Ole Miss is fantastic. They do with the fans. It just feels like a college environment. I think the Grove stinks. I think Mr. Two Bits in Florida is stupid. I'll tell you how I feel about things. And I think flying the eagle for the baseball series is going to be really, really cool. LSU is going to get a very inspired effort from Auburn this weekend. And it's a team that has found something offensively. I'm not as concerned with it tonight. South Carolina showed you can ambush Skeens and get a couple out of the yard, but Skeens is going to get you through 6 or 7, and he's gonna hang some zeros, and he's going to strike out 10 guys, and he's going to give LSU every opportunity against a guy who hasn't proven anything for Auburn to go out there and score some runs. And LSU should build a lead in this game and win tonight. What does Tommy Vail look like tomorrow? I think LSU will probably knock him around a little bit, but can Auburn swing the bats with LSU? If they hit the way they did against South Carolina, where they saw Will Sanders in the first game and knocked him all over the place, scored, I think, 7 runs on him, that's Auburn's path to winning some games here. LSU's going to score their 6, 7, 11, 14 runs. That's just what's going to happen. I've seen enough from this team against good enough teams to know that LSU, especially against this Auburn staff, will score. I do believe Auburn can score some with LSU on a given day. We'll just see if LSU staff is up to the challenge. Going to be interesting. All right, I think y'all enjoy this. Stuart Mandel from The Athletic, he came out with his post-spring top 25 college football rankings. Let you know where LSU stands in that next on Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. Mother's Day is coming up. If you got no idea what you're doing for Mother's Day, I got an idea. One Bath and Closets. Call David Duvall. How thrilled would the mom in your life be to know that she can have a custom closet? And we're going to get you a deal on the custom closet. Because they're not going to charge you to rip out the current closet, not going to charge you for the install of the new one, just going to charge you for the cost of the unit. You're getting a deal, and you get a great gift. They'll help you with lights and cubbies and drawers, and they can knock out and create a new closet, or they may just use the space you've got a little bit more efficiently with a couple of gizmos and gadgets they can help you out with. Go to the testimonials on onebathandclosets.com. They'll tell you that David Duvall and his team show up on time, they put together a plan, they finish the job on time, and they're not going to come back a month later because they put something together too quickly and it doesn't function properly, or they cut a corner to get to the next job. Nope. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
Jimmy Ott, Charles Henniger for the Monday edition of Game Time. We're at Big Mike Sports Bar and Grill in Denham Springs, recapping all the weekend Kentucky Derby, LSU baseball, and NBA playoffs. It's right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So what do we do when spring football ends? Well, we got to react to it. We got to put rankings on teams. We got to tell you what's going to happen in the fall. Still got summer to deal with. We got to tell you what's going to happen in the fall. Got to create content, and Stuart Mandel over The Athletic creates a lot of it. And yesterday he put out his college football post-spring too early top 25. And at the top of the list is a pretty familiar name, Georgia. They've won 2 national championships. They're recruiting at the highest level. And Stuart Mandel has them at number 1. He says Carson Beck came out of the spring as the clear favorite to succeed Stetson Bennett at quarterback. He had in the offense, which brings back star tight end Brock Bowers, plus receiver Ladd McConkey, added ex-Missouri wide receiver Dominic Lovett. Defense loses Jalen Carter and Keely Ringo, but will be more experienced as a whole. And then rattles off a few former 5-stars that Georgia will lean on. And the Dogs, number 1 in his poll. Number 2 in Stuart Mandel's way too early post-spring college football poll, your Fighting Tigers of LSU. Mandel said, simply put, LSU is loaded. Quarterback Jaden Daniels is a Heisman contender with weapons galore in Malik Neighbors, Kyron Lacey, Mason Taylor. 5 starters back on the offensive line, led by All-American tackle Will Campbell. LSU's front 7 is stacked thanks to defensive tackles Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo, linebacker Harold Perkins Jr., former All-Pac-12 linebacker Omar Spates, Texas edge rusher Ovi Agufo, ex-Syracuse cornerback Deuce Chestnut, likely starting. So they have LSU number 2, Michigan at 3rd, USC 4th, Ohio State 5th. You're going, well, where's Alabama? 6th. Number 6. In Stuart Mandel's poll. Mandel says Nick Saban bringing in ex-Notre Dame quarterback Tyler Buckner raises rare concerns about the Tide, which could also have questions at receiver. That's the point here. And trust me, I come at this understanding that LSU's greatest player in the history of the program was once deemed, quote-unquote, not good enough, and Joe transferred down here. But basically, Notre Dame made a move to go get a better quarterback and quickly determined he was much better. That's Sam Hartman as compared to Tyler Buckner. And Alabama post-spring said, we think Tyler Buckner's way better than what we got. He's coming in. So let that marinate a little bit. It's basically a flag from Tuscaloosa saying, we don't think these 2 guys we had in the spring are very good. Meanwhile, the flag in South Bend saying, we got a guy who's much better than this Buckner guy. And that feels real. And people are reacting to it. And Stuart Mandel has them 6th. And as I was prepping for this segment, I got another notification on my Athletic subscription that had SEC power rankings exiting spring from David Ubin, who covers the SEC very, very well for the Athletic. He's got Georgia number 1 in his power rankings. He's got LSU 2nd in his power rankings in front of number 3 Alabama. David Ubin says the Tigers likely have 2 winning SEC quarterbacks on the roster in Heisman contender Jaden Daniels and backup Garrett Nussmeier, who torched Georgia's defense in the SEC championship game. They'll work behind an experienced offensive line. Edge rusher Harold Perkins might be ready for a Heisman-caliber season 2. Plus, Mason Smith's back after torn ACL. Malik Neighbors is a legit number 1. Brian Kelly already won the West in year number 1. The idea the Tide should be favored to unseat them doesn't make a ton of sense. This is something that I came to grips with sometime in the middle of the spring. And Matt's been very vocal about this on his show as well. He's done some Instagram posts with it as well. When you look at Alabama last year, if they don't have Bryce Young, they lose to Texas. And they were already a 2-loss team. That's 3 losses, and they weren't dominant in a couple of other games. As dominant as we expect them to be. He kind of helped prop them up, and that's what great players do, and that's part of having a great football program, is having great players that can cover up some deficiencies. But he's gone, and the guys filling in for him were deemed not capable. And so we thought there was a chance coming into the spring that when we got to SEC Media Days coming up in Nashville in July, that there was a real chance that LSU could be picked to win the West. That doesn't happen very often in Birmingham, and you know the reason why. They credential just about everybody who wants to come. I think they've cut it down a little bit, but they pretty much credential everybody. And if you run an independent website or a blog, or even if you work for a TV station or a small newspaper, in Alabama, it's a little less expensive to get to media days than if you're in Bryan College Station or Columbia, Missouri, or even St. Louis or whatever. So more media members who lean Alabama's way and Auburn's way are at media days when they're in Birmingham. So Alabama's players get a little bit of a bump from that. Alabama's team in the votes gets a little bit of a bump for that. It doesn't matter because it's totally inconsequential what happens in those polls, in those ballots. It doesn't matter. But that's just the way that they work out. You fill a room with 700 people, and 396 of them are from the state of Alabama. There's a pretty good chance they've heard of the Bama players to vote all conference and haven't really heard about Ole Miss's tight end. You know? And so now you move media days out of Birmingham this year and you send it to Nashville. It's a little bit more of a balanced group of people. Plus, you start to evaluate the way people feel about LSU exiting the spring and the way they feel about Alabama exiting the spring. I think LSU is going to get picked to win the West. Georgia will get picked to win the whole thing, but I think LSU is going to get picked to win the West. And I don't bring that up because I think it's important. It's not, as I said. Like, who cares? But this town is a lot more fun when there are expectations and when there's a winning team. And I think that the expectations on this team are going to be massive, and I think they're going to be good. Do I think they have their hands full in Orlando? I do. We'll get to that when we got to get to that. But this job's a whole lot more fun when the expectations are through the roof. People are interested. They want to hear about it. That wasn't really the case last year. They were very interested in the new coach, but I didn't talk to anybody last year who said, yeah, I think they can go 11-1. I think they'll beat Bama. Like, I didn't hear any of that last year. I heard a lot of, yeah, they got a long way to go. They came off that Texas Bowl field, and they didn't have a quarterback, and they were down to 30 scholarship guys and transfer portal here and there, and you're taking guys from Louisiana Lafayette and Florida International, and who's this quarterback from Arizona State? We'll see. I think they can go 8-4. Like, that was most of what I heard, which is not usually the vibe around here. The vibe around here is usually about 3 notches higher than the national perspective. Well, I just gave you the national perspective. They're the second best team in the league. They're the second best team in the country by Stuart Mandel. Well, what does that mean for the expectations around here if I ratchet it up 3 notches? You get the picture? Now, I still am not going to permit any of you people, that includes you on Twitter, that includes you on YouTube, that includes you who have my phone number and can text me, that includes you if you see me at the grocery store. If you start ratcheting up the football talk the second this baseball season over, especially if it doesn't end with a win, I will be a sad guy. So don't do that to me. Give me some time to digest the baseball season before I have to dive knee-deep into football. Headlong into football. We'll get there. But I will say, as a baseball guy who has got the number 1 team in the country that he's talking about every day and watching 4 days a week, this feels a little more exciting for football. I'll concede that. I thought that the national talking heads were going to really pump LSU up in the lead up to the fall. Now I know. It's like the mock drafts from Major League Baseball. Every single one I see has Cruz 1, Skeens 2. Every one. Kylie McDaniel, Keith Law. Saw another one that was tweeted at me today. They're all the same. I have not seen one outlet put Alabama in front of LSU post-spring. Not one. And once again, that counts for all of 0 wins. You go out there against Florida State and get beat by 22 points, changes the discussion in a 3-hour window. But for right now, right here, that's the way things look. And that is exciting. Now let me refocus and get locked in on baseball. All right? But I know you football people out there. You got Taylor to do the show yesterday. I bet he talked about football for 90 minutes. Can't do that for you right here in the first week of May. But it's exciting. So I wanted to give a look at that from The Athletic. 2 different folks, both putting LSU ahead of the Tide. We got 30 more minutes to go. Come back with us, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is spark.
For live play-by-play this weekend, the Rays host the Yankees Saturday at 3, and the Lakers host the Warriors at 7:30. Then on Sunday, the 76ers host the Celtics at 2:30, followed by the Padres and the Dodgers at 6 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So back to baseball. LSU and Auburn tonight, 6 o'clock first pitch, 8 o'clock tomorrow, late night on TV before they go back to the afternoon on Sunday. If you've been listening to me or reading my stuff over on 3 for any length of time, I've told you that more often than not, when I'm talking, I don't have a lot of like inside sources. I don't try to dig and pry. I'm not an investigative journalist. I'm more so kind of react to what I see. And we talk about the actual sports on the playing surface on this show more often than not. It's where I'm comfortable. It's what I think I know better. And it's kind of the lane that I stay in. However, I do have some good relationships inside the baseball program and do get a little information here or there. But I have told anyone who will listen on these airwaves and then on 3 when I'm hanging out on the message boards over there, this program is incredibly tight-lipped on injuries. I believe there is a sense in that building that not disclosing injuries creates a little bit of a competitive advantage. Not a significant one, but one nonetheless. Chase Shores has been done for a month and a half. Like, he was not going to come back. They didn't announce it until after he had surgery because I think the folks over there in that program believe there is value in last week Alabama spending whatever it is, 25, 35, 45 minutes, 2 hours, however long it takes to scout a pitcher. I think they thought if they had to do that for Chase Shores, that was an advantage they couldn't spend on some other aspect of scouting LSU. Say what you will about that. That's what I believe to be the attitude at LSU. I say all that to tell you that I don't know anything definitively on injuries. That information does not come to me. Some stuff does. Pitching does. Injuries do not. But my opinion from watching the team play over the last month and watching the team play over the last 10 days and knowing what the roster is, I think based on non-Tommy John guys, this pitching staff is quote-unquote whole. I don't think anybody's on a significant pitch count other than maybe Javen Coleman. Everything looks pretty good. I think Nate Ackenhausen is ready to go for his 35 pitches if they need him this weekend. He's not going to go start a game and go 8 innings, but I think he's ready to fill his role. I think Gavin Guidry, as they continue to ramp him up, he didn't pitch at all in the fall, so you can't just throw him into the fire with all the rest of the pitchers, and he's got to build up. I believe he's ready to roll. I think Javen Coleman is building towards what he will be in 3 weeks, and it can certainly be called upon in any situation of a game. There's no situation too great. There's no situation, no hitter too intimidating. Like, he can pitch at any point for LSU this weekend. They don't have any other real injury concerns in this pitching staff. Skeens is ready to go. Floyd's ready to go. Little's ready to go. Ackenhausen's ready to go. Guidry's ready to go. Herring's ready to go. Javen Coleman's ready to go. Money is maybe the issue. I don't know what the deal is with the shoulder. We saw that on Tuesday, or we heard that on Tuesday, I guess. Collins is ready to go. Dutton's ready to go. Hurd's ready to go. Cooper's ready to go. That's your staff. That's the guys who are going to be called on when the lights come on in regional play to go get it done. And this is kind of the first time that they've all been back. You got Guidry showed up, but Ackenhausen was out. And Ackenhausen came back, but you were still waiting on Coleman and that kind of stuff. Like, now I think they've kind of got everybody they're going to have, barring another injury. And we'll see what Money's deal is. So I'm very curious to see how this thing is pieced together this week. The only thing we know is that they'll give the ball to Skeens tonight, and they'll take it from him when he's thrown 117 pitches or whatever it is. That's pretty safe bet. Is it possible Auburn lights him up and they take him out after 61 pitches and 6 earned runs? Sure. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't. After that, we'll see. Griffin Herring's been the next guy up. If it's 5-2, I think you'll see Griffin Herring. If it's 13-0, I don't think you'll see Griffin Herring. I think you'll see some other piecemeal. But as I started workshopping this, and this is going to be kind of something I run with until I'm proven wrong, which happens a lot. This will be something I run with. I think they've now cultivated a pitching staff capable of getting outs in chunks. It's not traditional, not your Friday 7 innings, your Saturday 6-7 innings, your Sunday 6 innings with a couple of setup men and a 1-inning closer that you see twice a weekend when you have a lead. That's not how this thing looks. They're going to get Skeens for that 7 innings, but then after that, it's chunks. It's Herring for 3 to close out Friday. It's Floyd for 4 innings, and then turn it over to Coleman for 2 innings, and then turn it over to Hurd for 3 innings to close it. And then it's Little for 4 innings on Sunday. And then you go to Guidry for 45 pitches. And then Collins for 2 innings. Chunks. That's what I think this staff will look at if it reaches its potential. And you couldn't see it in its full, I don't even know the word I'm looking for there. You couldn't see it all the way through because you had Ackenhausen coming back off injury, or you're still babying Guidry, or you hadn't gotten Coleman up to speed yet. Now it looks to me like everybody's ready to go. So I think the highest leverage guys that Jay will turn to this weekend out of the bullpen are Griffin Herring, Javen Coleman, Bryce Collins, and Thatcher Hurd. That's what it looks like to me. And man, would it change the feeling of everything around this team if those guys were really good this weekend. I get the pitching concerns after Alabama. Alabama hit a lot. I get the pitching concerns after Kentucky, a team that we thought LSU would handle, and they gave up a lot of runs. I get some pitching concerns with what went on in Columbia, South Carolina for 2 days. And you can't totally take those all away in 3 days at Auburn. But if you could go out there and hold this team down that's hitting the ball really well over the last 2 weeks and do it in a way that looks sustainable, that's all we're asking for, right? That's all the fan base really looks for. And I'm sure that's what the staff is looking for. I told you on Monday when I asked myself the question, does this team have enough pitching to win a national championship? Unequivocally, yes, was my answer. I didn't say they're going to. I said they can. I just rattled off a lot of names there. And we've had Joe Healy on who says, you need like 5 guys. Well, she's got more than 5, but they've been up and down. I mean, how many did I list? Skeens, Floyd, Ackenhausen, Guidry, Herring, Little, Coleman, Collins, Dutton, Hurd, Cooper, Money. That's 12 guys. There is enough there, I promise you. Doesn't mean they're going to do it. But now they're whole. Don't have to worry about Edwards anymore. Don't have to worry about Shores anymore. Don't have to question Coleman anymore. Don't have to talk about Grant Taylor. This is the team. This is what you got. So let's see what they do against an Auburn team that clubbed 10 home runs last week. That's going to be fired up. It's going to be keyed up and ready to play. I've got a quiet confidence about it. And again, just because it's Friday, don't come back and scream at me and tell me I'm wrong. I picked a sweep last week. They swept. Then, picked them to lose to Ole Miss, and they didn't do that. They swept Ole Miss. But I'm curious to see how this thing looks. I would love it if Ty Floyd went out there and threw 7 shutout innings. But again, what's the word I used when going through the way that this would look in chunks? Sustainable. Ty Floyd's 7 shutout is certainly possible. Does it feel sustainable? It doesn't. I'd love to see it this weekend, but I would come back here on Monday and say I didn't think it was sustainable. But if you piece this thing together after Skeens and hold Auburn to 4 runs a game, hold them to 12 over 3 games, I'll say that's a winner. You hold teams to under 12 runs with this offense, you're going to be fine. Got to keep him in the yard. Irish, McMurray. These guys can hit. Got to keep them in the yard. Speaking of the yard, it's not really a yard downtown, but it's a fun spot to hang downtown. Live after 5 tonight, 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Got some great music coming up. Got some great vendors, food and drink. It's all a ton of fun, and I'll be emceeing it with our friends over from WAFB. So that's going to be a lot of fun over at Live After 5 and previous to Live After 5. This is coming up in an hour and 17 minutes. The Crawfish King Cook-Off. So what's the Crawfish King Cook-Off? Well, what it is all you can eat crawfish for $35. Tickets are $35 in advance, $40 at the gate. Children under 10 get in for $10. And you're talking about 34 teams boiling crawfish, and you can eat it all. It's downtown, right there on St. Louis Street. Gates open up at 4 o'clock, and it leads right into Live After 5, which is right next to it. And I'll be out at the Crawfish King Cook-Off as well, coming up here in an hour and change, and very, very much looking forward to that. The teams are going to have 13,000 pounds of crawfish, and you can cast your vote to see who the Crawfish King is. Last year, the winner was Turner Industries. BASF won People's Choice. So who's going to be the king this year? You come decide. $40 for adults, $10 for children under 10. Crawfish King Cook-Off downtown starting an hour and 15 minutes from right now. Cannot wait to get over there. Kind of kick off the weekend downtown in Baton Rouge. And I know the weather is not perfect. That's okay. They're going to be out there and cooking up those bugs and having Live After 5. It's going to be fun. Incidentally, if you're not planning on coming to that and you are going to the softball game tonight, they play Georgia, 6 o'clock scheduled first pitch. They have bumped that back to 6:30. It rained a lot in Baton Rouge this morning. They're trying to get the field ready to go. I know it's over there on that river sand like the boxes. They'll have it dried up and ready to roll, but they are going to push the time of the start back 30 minutes to 6:30. So if you're going to see the softball team tonight, be advised of that. We'll come back and finish out the week at the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Turn my music high, 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 yeah. You don't know what you're doing. Sure I do. I'm from the streets where the hood can swallow on me. Bullets will follow on me. There's so much that you could run the slalom. And cops comb this top to bottom. They say that we are prone to violence, but it's home sweet home. Where personalities clash and chrome meets chrome. Prices up and down like this Wall Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event.
Join us for the Monday edition of Hanny Time. It's a big weekend in Southeastern Conference baseball. As we come down the stretch, we take a look back at LSU's series against Auburn. Hanny Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our Friday show is brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Love our guys over at Cork's. Their food is fantastic. If you're looking for late lunch or picking up dinner, Cork's on Government is fantastic. The fried catfish is awesome. Gulf shrimp, delicious. How about this? They got their famous baked potato, same one you could have gotten at Kuyon's across the river for years. It's fantastic. Baked potato covered with crawfish etouffee and fried Gulf shrimp. It is awesome over there at Corks. If you're looking to do some catering, if you're looking for somebody to come serve your office lunch or put together something for a tailgate party or birthday party, large orders, Corks can help you. Just get on by there and place your order. You can order online at corksfishandshrimp.com. Appreciate them for bringing you our Friday shows. All right, Alondra, let's do some Take It or Leave It.
All right, Hunt. Family road trips. Take it or leave it.
We had a little one yesterday. The Palmers, the four of us, just me, my sister, mom, and dad, went from Shreveport to Dallas and back for the day. It was just a scene. I felt like I was in a TV sitcom yesterday. I got my dad driving. He's not exactly excellent at dealing with the technology of Google Maps and Waze, especially when he doesn't know where he's going and there's construction everywhere. My mom in the back seat, every time someone changes lanes, especially an 18-wheeler, she loses her mind and gasps and covers her face like she's never seen anyone change lanes before. My sister's in the back seat. Her 1-year-old is at daycare. Well, she can stream the daycare, so she's staring at her phone the entire time. And when the baby starts crying or it's been sitting in the chair too long, she's upset. I'm sitting here just losing my mind. These people need to calm down. The baby's fine at daycare. People change lanes all the time. I promise the technology works. We just got to cool it. But it just wasn't happening in the Palmer car yesterday. It was quite a scene. And these Shreveporters, these Palmers, expect to have empty roads all the time because Shreveport has no traffic on the interstate ever. And when they come to Baton Rouge, they complain about everything. And they're in Dallas. It's impossible that thousands of humans would be on the same interstate, and they just don't understand. But we didn't make it, and it was an enjoyable time in the car at some point. So, may take it, may leave it. It just kind of depends on the situation.
I'm going to go ahead and leave that one for you. That just sounds stressful.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. The Kentucky Derby. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I want to go to the Kentucky Derby someday. I like the fact they kind of get all dressed up, and I like the fact that it's an all-day thing and that the races go quickly. I don't have any interest really in going to a NASCAR or an IndyCar race that takes a lot of time, and I don't understand what they're doing and the pit stops and all that. I can handle the horses running in a circle once. Like that, I can figure out. I don't know if I understand all the betting pieces of it, but I've been to the tracks twice. Once at Keeneland in 2007 when I was in college. We did not fit in our T-shirts and hats when everybody was all dressed to the nines, and we were drinking and yelling LSU, LSU when the horses were coming down the backstretch, which I don't think the Kentucky people appreciated. But I do enjoy the horse races. And as far as not even going, just dealing with it, same deal. You just look up the post time and flip over right before they start. It's 2 minutes. That's great, and it's over. You don't have to it's not an all-day thing. It's just you're just running. It's over. I like the Kentucky Derby.
I'm going to add one here. Mint juleps. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that. I'm not a bourbon guy. I've never been a bourbon guy outside of college when I was drinking it with Coke, which is disgusting. So no, I don't need a mint julep. I'll drink like a mojito, which I've had, but like a mint julep, I'm out.
All right, weekend rain. Take it or leave it.
Well, it happens every weekend, so I guess I have to take it. It rains here every weekend. I know that it's spring and summer and we get the afternoon showers all the time, but it's just annoying. I never get to play golf. I play golf like 5 times a year now, max, and I want to play golf on Saturday and I have a tee time, and the weather looks terrible. I got a night baseball game. I don't have to get in the way of that. Got a tee time. I don't think it's going to work out. I'm very disappointed. I will leave the weekend rain, even though it's here every single weekend, and it bums me out.
Live after 5.
That I will
take it or leave it.
I will take live after 5. That's where I'm headed. Crawfish King Cook-Off coming up at 4 o'clock. Live after 5, obviously, right after 5, at 5 o'clock until 8. If you're looking for something to do this evening, those two are going on. I know the weather hasn't been great today, but Crawfish King Cook-Off and Live After 5 cranking up downtown here in an hour and 5 minutes, and I will be there to talk through both of them. So very much looking forward to that and kind of getting the weekend kicked off. Good to be back in the host chair today after a day off again. Thanks to Taylor for filling in yesterday. But it was fun today. If you missed any of the show, you can catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube. We appreciate y'all hanging out in the Bayou Ford chat. Just search the Hunt Palmer Show, and you can find all of our content. Our video producers do such a great job of cutting up some of the individual pieces. And then the entire shows are archived on YouTube as well. I open things up talking about the Alabama baseball scandal and kind of where I land on it. I just think it's a bizarre story that doesn't make a whole lot of sense other than a guy that just being an idiot. And I think that's what happened with Brad Bohannon. LSU Auburn preview from me at 1:15. SEC weekend preview from me at 1:30. We talked about Anissa Mora, who's coming to LSU's women's basketball team to fill out basically a dream team at 1:45. Jason Caldwell from Auburn Undercover was with us at 2 o'clock talking about the Auburn Tigers. They got a new quarterback. Jason talked about that. Stuart Mandel says we're the best team in the West. So does everybody else. Talked about that at 2:15. All right, that's going to do it for us. Matt's about to drive you home with Ryan Terrio in the Riot Radio Hours. We will see you Monday, same time, same place, 1 to 3 on Palmer Show.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish